Hey, what is going on, guys? Jimmy here. I hope you're all doing great. I am doing fine. Thank you so much for asking. So the last video I showed you guys how to edit on Lightroom Mobile Pro. Well, today we're gonna edit on Lightroom Mobile Pro once again, but this time we're gonna do fall inspired tone. Now, I asked you guys to send me one of your pictures so I would edit them, and I'm gonna be editing 2 pictures on my phone today. So grab your cup of coffee and let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, so our first submission here is from my friend Ian. Sent me a picture of his mom and some trails, and we can already see it's already has some of those fall tones, but there's a lot more we can do to this picture to make it look just more BAM, right? So first things up first, let's start off with the light section. In the light section, we're gonna go ahead and grab our highlights, and we're gonna turn those highlights down just to let's just knock it all the way down. Alright, so we're gonna raise those shadows up a bit to increase those details in the woods. Just about 20 should be right. And we're gonna lower down the whites just a bit, not that much, about 20 should be fine. So the whites, basically the whiter and brighter areas of the picture, which we're just diminishing that. Blacks, I always love to tighten up the blacks all the way to the left to make those black areas just a lot stronger. If you were to raise the blacks, it's like raising the shadows. You would actually add more details to the picture, but I just like giving it that bam. You see how it looks like right there? Looks a whole lot better. Now the contrast, basically the same thing as the blacks, kind of, maybe, not really. So we're gonna go ahead and send it to a little bit to the right, just to add a little bit of punch. Not too much, we don't want that picture to be overwhelming. Again, this is definitely depending on your editing style. This is how I like to edit my pictures. So I'm just showing you the way, my young Padawans. Alright, so I think we're pretty good here in this tab. Maybe just raise the exposure just a tad. There should be fine. And we're gonna head off to the color tab. Here in the color tab, first thing we're gonna do is click on mix, and this is your color tabs in the entire picture. Now, let's start off with the greens. We want those greens to look more tonish, more fall tonish, more orange, more yellow. That's what fall tones is all about. So the hue section here, we're gonna raise it to the left, and that's basically gonna make your greens a little bit more yellow. As you can see there, those greens are not as strong. If you were to raise it all the way to the right, look how those greens look so dramatic and, well, fake. So we're just gonna send it over to the left, and it's gonna look a whole lot better. We can raise the saturation up a bit from those greens so we can give it a little bit more color. And the luminance, this is definitely up to you. You can either lower the luminance down to make those colors look more dark, or you can raise them to make them look more bright. Now I think I'm gonna raise them because I do like how they look brightish. Now we're gonna go over to the yellow tab, another fall tone color. So again, with the hue, we want those yellows to look a little bit more orange. And the yellows are actually all those brown parts that we're looking at. So we're gonna grab the hue and move it over to the left. And you can definitely see the difference that we're doing here. Everything that looks yellowish is turning red, orange, but we don't want to overdo it, so we'll just do about a 65, 66 should look fine. And we're gonna raise the luminance just so we can add a little bit more white back to those orange and not make it look that dramatic. Now we can raise a little bit the saturation as well to give it a little bit more color. Alright, there we go, perfect. Now we'll go over to the orange tab, which is another color we're gonna use for the fall tones. So we're gonna play with the hue once again. We'll slide it a little bit to the left, and you can see all those oranges tightening up, getting a little bit of red. We don't want to overdo it, so we'll definitely pop it at -45, which is looking a whole lot nice here. It's gonna give it a nice fall tone color to those leaves. Instead of looking so yellow, they'll be looking a whole lot red and orange. We can raise the luminance now, so we can give it a little bit of more color as well. And that's starting to hook up. Not so much. I do like my colors very tight. Perfect. Now let's go over to the red tab, and we can go ahead and play with this. I'm gonna say I'm not even gonna play with the red tab this time, but I'll raise a little bit the luminance. Now you can see that her jacket is blue, so we can go over to the blue section and we can either eliminate that blue completely, which I'm not gonna do, or we can just give it a little bit of hue. We can make it a little bit purple or a little bit skyish blue. That will also work on the sky, so we can raise the luminance to brighten that up and lower the saturation so that blue is just not as exaggerated. Alright, and we click done on here, and that looks pretty good to go for me, but we're gonna do a little bit more. We're gonna go to the effects tab and we're gonna raise the clarity just to add more punch and a little bit of detail. About 18 or 20 should be fine, not too much. Perfect. Detail tab, just sharpen it up. I always like to sharpen things up for about maybe 5 to 10. There we go. So you're starting to look, that picture looks a whole lot more dramatic than what it looked like in the beginning. And we're gonna go back to the light tab. On the light tab, this is the last thing I ever like to work, the last thing I work on. This is gonna be the curve. I did mention that the curve is one of the hardest tools to learn. And we're gonna make those 3 dots like I'm showing you here. And we're gonna raise this tail up a bit, just to give it that shady, just to give it that shady, faded look. Now you see the picture looks a whole lot more dramatic, and it's definitely up to you how much you want to raise this tail on the left. I think I'm good to go right about here. If you raise that too much, you're gonna diminish the blacks and they're just gonna look not so well. So we're just gonna lower it up, like up to here. This should be right about there. Perfect. And that's how I would edit this picture. You can definitely add either more clarity to make it a little bit more punchy, or you can go back to the light tab and lower down the blacks just to make it a little bit stronger. But that's definitely how I would edit this picture, and it's ready, good to go, up for the gram. And this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. A whole lot of change there. A whole lot of tones have been changed. The picture looks very dramatic, very colorful, very full tone. So that's definitely how I would edit it. Now we have another entry, and this might not be full tone, but this is an interesting picture that we can edit. This is a sky view picture at 5 in the morning from friend Luisga. Thanks Luisga for sending me the picture. So we're gonna edit this one as well. So it's rooftop picture. As you can see, it's very dark. So the first thing we're gonna go do is go to the light tab. And you can see we can barely see anything in the picture, so we're gonna raise those shadows, start getting more details out of the pictures. You see that? You see that? Everything used to be dark. Raise the shadows and you can definitely see everything that was hidden under those shadows. Now there's a picture. Now we can start editing. We're gonna go ahead and take those highlights to the left just to make it more dramatic, and you can see now that the sky is looking a whole lot dimmer. It looks more, you know, movie-like. Alright, so we're gonna go over to the white tab and we'll slide this over a little bit to the left. You don't want to mess the whites too much here. Now here is when we're gonna actually not tighten up the blacks. We're gonna go ahead and slide the blacks over to the right just so we can get more detail out of this area here in the left where the trees are really dark. There we go, just about there. And we're gonna slide the contrast a little bit to the right so we can get a little bit of punchy look here. And we can raise the exposure just a bit so we can get a little bit more light in this picture. About 0.40 should be perfect. All right, there we go. Definitely a whole lot different than when we saw earlier before. We couldn't see anything in the picture. Now we can see the rooftop, right? All right, so let's go over to the effects tab real quick and we'll raise that clarity. The clarity will also give us more detail on the picture and raise a little bit the exposure. Definitely there's a picture now that we can admire. Now we'll go over to the color tab and we'll grab our eyedropper tool. And this picture needs a better white balance, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide it over to the whitest area of the picture. Right over there should be fine, and you can click on the check mark and look at that. That is the perfect white balance according to Lightroom Mobile Pro. It definitely looks like it's about to be 5:30 in the morning and you're about to wake up, so that's definitely a great color for this picture. Great, so now let's go over to the mix tab here. And we're gonna go over to the green. Like I said before, we can slide the hue for the greens to the left to make those colors look more full tones, even though we're not working on full tones, but I'm gonna teach you how to do it anyway. Luminance, raise it all the way to the right so we can give more brightness to those green colors there. And that looks just about fine to me. We'll go over to the yellow color tab here and we'll slide that to the left, not that much. You can see there's the sky is orange, a little bit of yellow. We want to add a little bit more color and punch to it. So we'll slide the hue a little bit to the left. And look at that orange color in the sky starting to grab more detail. We can raise the luminance here as well to give it a little bit more brightness on those orange colors. On those yellow colors, sorry. Now we'll go to the orange tab. And we'll slide the hue as well. You can definitely play. It's definitely up to you what color you want the sky to be. So I'll slide it over a little bit to the left because I want that red orange look. You can go all pink, you can go all green. That's definitely up to you. As long as you keep practicing, you'll keep learning, you'll get your own editing style. So I'll raise the luminance here as well to the right just to give that color a little orange a little bit of color. Now there's a lot of red in this picture as well. I'm not a big fan of reds, so I'm gonna take the saturation and lower it down a bit and raise the luminance. That way the reds will have less color and more brightness. And perfect. And the yellow tab, one more thing I want to do is grab the saturation and raise it down to 0. And look at that picture, it's definitely looking really great. Now there's a little bit of blue in the sky, so we're gonna go ahead and a little bit go to the blue section, and we're gonna get that hue a little bit to the left, a little bit more, and add a little bit of saturation. That's gonna give a little bit of bluer color to the sky. We can do that on both blue and the sky blue. And there we go, perfect. Now we're gonna go over to the last section that we always use, and that is the light tab over to the curve. Add the 3 dots that I've taught you how to add before and raise the left tail to give it that faded look. Not too much on this one. Over on this side, a little bit on that tail. Raise this a little bit lower. And a little bit lower so you can lighten up the darks here in this left bottom corner, and done. That's how I would edit that picture. Now we can click over here, save to camera roll, maximum available. This is what Luis Gas sent me. This is what it used to look like before, and this is what it looks like now. Definitely a big difference in this picture, since on the left side you can barely see absolutely anything, and on the right side you can see everything that's going on in the picture. You can see the sky, you can see the buildings, you can see the trees, you can see all the details. So now you can see that Lightroom Mobile is definitely a very powerful tool that you can use to edit your own pictures, get the best out of them, not just an Instagram filter and blah blah blah. I'm definitely enjoying making all these videos for you, and I will keep going. There's no going back. I will keep posting every week. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week on a really good video that I'm working on. It's gonna be sweet. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. Take care, bye.